is beauty? For many people, it is one of the transcendent values, one of the things that makes life worth living. Some of us derive the basic meaning of our life from God, but some of us have no need of that concept. And for those, the transcendent values like beauty, truth, and goodness form the goalposts between which the game of life is played. The title of this week's reflections come from a children's hymn from my childhood, and I bet a lot of you know it too. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Originally Anglican, the hymn is sung in many Protestant churches. The second line of the refrain, all creatures great and small, was used as the title of a book by James Herriot about a veterinarian in the 1930s in Yorkshire, which was made into a popular movie and TV series. The hymn asserts that the Lord God made them all, meaning all things bright and beautiful, as well as creatures great and small, and all things wise and wonderful. These words feel good, but in my life I have graduated from an Episcopalian to a Universalist point of view. And I want to ask, if God made them all, why are we only talking about the bright and the beautiful? Didn't the same God make the dull and the ugly? My Universalist faith says if God made the wise and the wonderful, he or she also made the foolish, the ordinary, and even the horrendous and despicable. Now, it may be unfair to quibble with the words of a children's hymn, but the point I want to start out from is that beauty is not a simple thing. Philosophers debate whether beauty is primarily objective, something out there in the world, or subjective, something in the mind of the individual. And what does that have to do with us here in this congregation? Well, we're all, I would say, aging beauty this year. On the way to church yesterday, I was reflecting on this when I saw a group of walkers on the sidewalk on Cedar Street. Nothing unusual about that. Walkers about on Saturday morning. 6 of them, men and women, all in dark Bermuda shorts, all with t-shirts and sunglasses and tennis shoes, all in their 60s or 70s or 80s. All the t-shirts were plain except for one man's which said, "Old guys rule." And I thought, are these the beautiful people? They could have been me or any of you. And of course, they weren't trying to impress anyone with their appearance. They might have smartened up if they were coming to the theater or the church. They were out for a nice bit of exercise. Beauty is maybe fleeting, but it's not just a flash in the pan. It has legs in today's world as it had in the ancient world. The first great Western epic, the Iliad, is about the Trojan War, a war instigated for the beauty of Helen. Do you know the story? It's fascinating. The mythology is that Eris, the goddess of discord, E-R-I-S, gave a golden apple, the apple of discord, to the 3 goddesses Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite. Why was it the apple of discord? It was marked for the fairest. What is it about women and apples anyway? Zeus sent the goddesses to Paris, a mortal who lived in Troy, to settle the matter. Paris judged that Aphrodite, as the fairest, should get the apple. That's the fateful judgment of Paris, depicted in innumerable paintings from Botticelli to Renoir. To return the favor, Aphrodite made Helen, the most beautiful of mortal women and the wife of the Achaean king Menelaus, to fall in love with Paris. Paris then took Helen to Troy, and Menelaus' brother Agamemnon raised a navy to go get her back. And the Greeks laid siege to Troy for 10 years, giving us both of Homer's great poems. You see why Helen's is called the face that launched 1,000 ships. It's not just restricted to Greek lore. Of course, in the Hebrew Bible, we have the story of David. David fell in love with Bathsheba when he saw her bathing on the rooftop. I don't know why people bathed on rooftops back then. He did, and he contrived, since he was the commander-in-chief, to have Bathsheba's husband in front of the next cavalry charge, or infantry charge, and killed. Not exactly ethical behavior. So war and beauty gets linked in a lot of our inherited We haven't started any wars lately over beautiful women, but beauty is a big factor in our retail economy. According to a report from the YWCA, about $7 billion is spent each year on cosmetics in the U.S. Another $1.5 billion is spent on breast augmentation, $1.3 billion on lipoplasty, and nearly $1 billion on abdominoplasty, aka tummy tucks. Beauty is important not just in people, but in places. The beauty of a place like Cape Cod has a big influence on the economy and the demographics. All places in the U.S. that are physically beautiful experiences the same economic forces. People who have a choice of where to live in retirement, or because their jobs are portable, will choose to live in beautiful places. And why not? As a result, old houses get torn down and rebuilt as larger houses. The children who grew up here cannot afford to buy here because the industry such as it is has been taken over by the beauty servicing sectors of the economy. But let's get back to our us aging folks. When we look in the mirror and see the face and body we see today, what emotion comes up? Is it dismay at the effect of the passing years? Is it satisfaction that we still retain some of our looks? Is it happiness that we are here at all to gaze back out at ourselves? Is it loathing that we are not as conventionally beautiful as the younger models and actors that we see in the media? The effect of time on beauty has been a common subject of romantic verse. Earlier I sang for you Thomas More's Blessing, Believe Me If All These Endearing Human Charms. The story of the song is that Thomas More, and we're talking about Thomas More, the Irish songwriter, not to be confused with Thomas More, the English saint and martyr of 3 centuries before, the guy that had to face off with Henry VIII and is immortalized in The Man for All Seasons. That Thomas More belongs to history, as well as this Thomas More, but this one's writes better verse. Thomas More, as a young man, had courted and won the most beautiful woman in the county as his wife. But after they were married, she contracted smallpox, and her face became hideously disfigured. She locked herself in her room and refused to come out. The story is that Thomas More composed this song and sang it to her through the keyhole, and she finally relented and opened the door. Thou wilt still be the same as this moment thou art. Let thy loveliness fade as it will, and around the dear ruin each wish of my heart would entwine itself verdantly still. The moral is driven home in the second verse. The heart that is truly loved never forgets, but as truly loves on to the close. Note that this is not a statement that beauty in a person is eternal, but that love is, that love survives the departure of beauty. The idea that love is steadfast, while beauty is fleeting, finds expression 3 centuries earlier in Shakespeare's famous sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when an alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever will. Shakespeare was a great one for folding lines in upon himself, and sometimes the meaning gets a little obscure, so let me unpack that second line. Love's not love which alters when an alteration finds. When beauty fades, when the smallpox scars on the disfiguring accident happens, or the wrinkles sprout, there's an alteration, a change. If love fades or alters when it finds this alteration, it is not love. True love remains steadfast as stars, by whose lights the early ships navigated the ocean. But around the time Moore wrote his song, John Keats was writing his classic ode on a Grecian urn, in which the poet admits that beauty is usually fleeting, but stops to contemplate an object of beauty which has far outlasted the civilization that created it, an object whose beauty still speaks across the centuries. This was a theme of the Romantic imagination, the beauty of the ruins, the poignancy of lives vanished in time, but their remnants still around for our contemplation. So when Thomas More says, "Around the dear ruin, the wish of my heart will entwine itself vertically still," he's not saying that his true love is a real wreck, but that his love, whose physical beauty has faded, is as dear to him, speaks to him across time as does the ruins of an ancient castle or cathedral, which was stock motif in the paintings of that era. The Romantic message, then, is that beauty fades, but love is eternal. But I think it's actually a good deal more complicated than that. Beauty is subjective. You can know this in an acute way by taking a car trip with your children or grandchildren and arguing about what music to listen to. The music they love, you hate, and vice versa. There is no objective standard of music. No God's ear to state authoritatively, this is good and this is bad. I'm reminded of one of my favorite cases in my legal career. The town of Barnwell, South Carolina, had some unused space in the town hall, and some forward-thinking citizen convinced them to dedicate it to the display of visual art. So it was a town-owned art gallery. Now that had implications for the First Amendment. A private art gallery can show or not show whatever it wants, but a town has to abide by the Constitution and not censor any expression based on its content. There was a part-time curator. I think he was a teacher at the local high school. And he was a lot more cosmopolitan than the rest of the folks in town. And he decided to book a show of paintings by an artist who was all the rage in Atlanta at that time. This artist, who was gay, had a simple device. He would copy nudes from the neoclassical period, paintings by Ingres and David and folks like that, reproducing the setting and the lighting and the arrangement with great precision. The only thing different was that instead of using a female nude, he used a male nude. Now this little trick led the sophisticated viewer to reflect on the extent to which his or her reaction to the original neoclassical nude was influenced by the sex of the model. Unfortunately, there weren't many viewers with that level of sophistication at Little Barnwell, and it was soon making demands that the gallery shut down the exhibit, which it did. Enter the ACLU. The case was a slam dunk legally, and all we had to do was file the papers to get the federal judge, who was from Barnwell, to let the town know they had better reopen the exhibit. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Though I thought the artist's work was thought-provoking, I know that my own reaction to the male nudes were quite different from that to the female originals. I thought about this as I watched the Carnival Parade last week in Provincetown, with male flesh on display in exuberant abandon, in all kinds of costumes, some drag and some just skimpy. All things bright and beautiful. The Lord God made them all. There were certainly bright things in that parade, and the over-the-top outfits were beautiful in their way. And I'm sure I was viewing the sight with different eyes than my gay friends would view it. It remains true, though, that one person's beauty can be another person's ugliness. One age's beauty is another age's ugliness. Have you looked lately at the videos of TV shows from the 1970s with their Risha suits and sideburns? My conservatory-educated wife tells me that in medieval music, the fifth was considered a beautiful interval, and music moving in parallel fifths was all the rage until box time, when it became a no-no. Now, those of us today who listen to a lot of folk music appreciate parallel fifths, while for classically trained musicians, it is a jar. The American beauty obsession has been rightly and roundly criticized. For in it, beauty is often at war with the other transcendent values of truth and goodness and justice. Much of which what we are sold as beautiful is not true. The flawless bodies and bright smiles we see in the advertisements and on TV are the product of airbrushing and photoshopping and post-production playing God. And yet real Americans are miserable because their own looks don't measure up to the standards of these people who never in fact looked like that. I was encouraged to see a short video posted on Facebook by Lisa Shostrom, the principal of Chatham Middle School. The video is the result of a project among the girls in the school, this is 7th and 8th graders, to teach them about the harmful images out there in the culture and to encourage them to be their own people. The video was called Girl Meets World, and it opened with the scene of the girls looking at fashion magazines and saying, why am I expected to look like that? Why am I expected to dress like that? Why am I expected to pose like that? Why am I expected to buy so much to be so little? Then the girls joyously dumped the magazines in the trash can as they proclaimed, I am not a stereotype. This is the kind of empowerment message that feminism has been preaching since the 1970s, and it is very inspiring that it has reached a new generation of adolescent girls. Beauty is at war with justice, in that the features conventionally associated with personal beauty are not equally distributed in society, nor are the features of natural beauty found everywhere. Some people are, by conventional judgment, more beautiful than others, as are some places. No, we're not all equally beautiful, and we're not all going to be able to live in equally beautiful places. But we all have an equal right and opportunity to pursue beauty, however we may feel it. We may choose to look and pursue the skin-deep beauty that the American advertising industry tries to sell us, or we may try to keep up with the Joneses in buying expensive clothes, landscaping our yards, getting those tummy tucks from the plastic surgeon that puts his kids through those expensive colleges. But we also have the choice to look beyond the skin, to construct our own standards of beauty. Emerson said, the eye is the best of artists. You have the choice to make beauty for yourself. And so many of you have chosen to do this in the latter stages of your life, either as visual artists or musicians or performing artists. There is satisfaction in creating a work that is beautiful that almost no other activity can give. As we age, I think we care more about beauty than when we were younger. I know that this meeting house cares deeply about the beauty of our building and grounds, as was evidenced by the lively debate we had a couple of years ago about putting up some colored glass windows, which really didn't fit here. We don't have a dress code for Sunday mornings. Why not? Because such a code would not honor the individual approach to self-expression that we value so highly. And here's the point. Diversity is its own beauty. Diversity is its own beauty. We would not be comfortable walking into a sanctuary if all the gentlemen had on neckties, all the ladies had on dresses and pearls. We embrace the individual expression that each of us brings to our appearance here. As I was in the thrift shop this week, when one of you who has always worn her hair long suddenly walked in with a new do. It was short and had gentle waves that formed a sweet halo around the smiling face, and there was still enough hair to carry her trademark flower. You would not have believed the fuss that the ladies made over that. And well deserved it was. I don't see her here in the sanctuary this morning, but when you see her, you will be amazed. Tell her that, please. We're not too old for beauty here. This may be the most beautiful time of our lives. In the years we have lived, we have learned to look beneath the surface and find the inner beauty in people, in landscapes, in nature herself. Beauty has lots of ugly sides, let's face it. It is not evenly endowed on people or on places. It makes young girls anxious and afraid. It's exploited by large corporations to make a profit. It ignites jealousy and envy. It starts wars. It fades with time. But in art, it can also transcend time. And the pursuit of true beauty, deep beauty, can be what life is all about. May we all